One Team will be on your blue, Onic Esports on your red, and now right off the bat, that's a Twisted Fate and now a Gragas.
I think the pick here that's going to be highly contested is going to be Lee Sin, as well as Zaya Rakan for One Team Esports. We saw a lot of Renekton focus too earlier in the day, so I think Renekton is going to be highly contested as well. You see the Kai'Sa being banned out and the Camille, so that's pretty much going to round out our bans and leave a lot open, right? We still have the Galio coming in, we still have the Lee Sin as well as the Zaya Rakan.
That's true. I mean, that could be a first pick Lee Sin that we'll be seeing, but never mind, as Ziggs is open for the taking. Curious to see what Susu Gaja is going to be picking up this time around as Kai'Sa is taken out.
Yeah, this it's been interesting because when you were looking at the qualifiers, he really only played like Kai'Sa and Ezreal, which is kind of odd considering, you know, the champion pose from a lot of other AD carries tends to be bigger. So having to only default onto Ezreal or Kai'Sa puts them in a awkward position. The draft right now is set up to succeed with Ezreal though, because you do have the Olaf and Galio, you know, they create a lot of space for Ezreal to just throw Mystic shots out. So far on the Onic Esports side, they haven't given anything away either. This Galio could be middle support. On One Team Esports here, they go for the Tristana and Garrett.
There is that Demolition duo popping up, the Ziggs and as well as this Tristana, crazy wave clear and as well as easy tower takes. Onic though, looks like they're going to be finishing up with what you said. It's going to be the Ezreal for their AD carry.
Now that they see the Janna support, they have to think twice if they want to put the Galio into the support position. I think this is a difficult one just because that matchup is kind of difficult. It's kind of tough for the Galio, right? You can't really gap close or find a way into jumping onto the Tristana Janna just purely from the PO as well as the range advantage. Galio is going to have a really tough time this lane as they lock in the Orianna, so that's going to be kind of indicating that we have a support Galio coming in.
Exactly. It is going to be looking like an explosive start so far. We've seen the Jarvan again and the Ziggs with a Cataclysm just to pour in all the bombs. And on the other side of the spectrum, it's an Olaf having that Ragnarok on board and a Galio for that heavy engage. Alongside Han Jaeger's Orianna, it's definitely going to be an exciting Group C debut of One Team and as well as Onic Esports.
For people watching, you know, this is a pro tip. Jarvan is a hard counter to Olaf just purely because when you pop the Cataclysm, you kind of trap the Olaf inside, you force him to use the flash, and you kind of isolate him away from your backline, which is where Olaf wants to play. So I do like this response pick coming in from Xianyo SBCO. Hold on. The Onyx side is just holding on a little bit as we are already on the Rift.
That is true. As One Team already on towards the red side. So we'll have to see what One Team is going to do this time around, as that will be Xianyo getting that early red buff.
Okay, so there's going to be, I guess, a small kind of technical issue that requires a remake. But one thing I want to talk about before we go into that, Riku, is the idea of like jungle pathing, right? We talked about how 2.38 the jungle was changed quite a bit, and teams are starting to find deviations and ways to play around how to path. Earlier today, we saw some teams just do a full one-side clear into Scuttle Crab and split the map vertically. This time, invade seemed to be the name of the game, and I feel like for the most part, teams will start to innovate and start invading against their opponents.
Yeah, and I think the mid lane and as well as the support pick will play into will be a huge key in sort of disrupting or possibly countering that invade. So curious to see what will be the adjustments, considering the fact that we see a Tristana, Janna, and a Jarvan and a Ziggs. So a lot of wave clear on the board for them. But of course, we will, after getting through the technical issue, getting through that remake, we will be heading over back to the Rift shortly. But yeah, looks like it has been very exciting so far when it comes to the draft, at least. Yeah,
one thing I haven't noticed, I've noticed no team do so far is just lane swaps, right? I think in Wild Rift, lane swapping is actually a really important thing if you want to put your jungler ahead. We see a lot of this during the regional playoffs for each region, but coming into the Summer Super Cup, everyone's playing like super conservative. Even earlier today, we saw a game just go like 8 minutes without kills, right? They're sort of feeling out their opponents right now, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't as we go on, because this is a double round robin. There's another opportunity for you to play the same opponents again and kind of absorb the knowledge you have and try to rectify the mistakes that you made. So it's not like, they are just putting all their chips on all in right now early in the tournament.
That's true. It is still day one, so it is that observation or download process that we're seeing at the moment. You mentioned double round robin, but I feel like, as the days go by, there is going to be intense pressure to rack up points as much as they can, because there's a lot of value on getting that first seed to get that straight ticket to the quarterfinals. But good news is that, every group, 3 teams will go through and 1 will say goodbye at the end of the group stages. So there is a little bit of a bigger leeway.
Yeah, I think this bandwidth is awesome. It's also a extended format where the teams get to play more games, right? Double round robin to a qualifiers that's a bit more punishing during the playoffs. So I do like that. It gives us more wild rift. It gives this window for strategic adaptation as the tournament goes on. I'm a big proponent of tournament metas and trying to feel out what your opponents value and then removing that from the pool. So far today, we've seen a high priority, a high focus on the Ziggs, on the Galio. So this is going to be consistent, I think, throughout the tournament as far as we go.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think one thing that I would like to tackle on and ask is that, 2.3a brought in a little bit of adjustments in towards the jungle, which you just mentioned earlier. And of course, the Balmy Cinder and Sunfire Cape, which sort of directly affected all these tank junglers. But what do you think now that Jarvan has been, very proficient so far in our day number 1?
We actually discussed this a little bit during our court and meetings, right? Jarvan is one of those few junglers that can get away with building tank because he wants to take the Conqueror Keystone. So he's still going to be doing damage, and he has the bandwidth to kind of lock you in with the Cataclysm. As long as you are within range, you are going to be punished. So Jarvan is the exception to the rule, wherein most tanks do tend to fall off, I think, with these changes coming in.
Exactly. I mean, the fact that a lot of these regions still like to play the Olaf. When we look back at the Philippine region, Olaf's win rate was pretty skyward or at ground. Directed towards the ground, rather. It's a very, very sad win rate, but looks like it has been finding its own success depending on the teams if they still want to field it out. And looks like, Onic wants to field that out on the table. But now, question is, what certain lanes will affect maybe the first 10 minutes? What are the lanes to watch?
I'll be looking at mid and Baron lane mostly, just because that kind of dictates how the jungler wants to path. We saw earlier today, and that still kind of breaks my heart, right? When I watch Alliance play, one of the big mistakes they made was Shinsekai was full clearing his bot side. I think he was blue, and he full cleared red into Raptors into Krugs. His Baron laner didn't get the memo. He extended and tried to go for the all-in, and he got caught out. The moment you die and burn flash, they'll just keep diving you, right? So this kind of communication between the solo lanes as well as the jungler has to be made clear. If I'm clearing bot side, if I'm playing away from you, you are now weak side. You have to play backwards. You have to kind of take the L for a minute and a half until I clear my way up to you, and then we can try and make something happen.
Yeah, because the two-minute mark definitely will be very important, especially that we are seeing aggressive junglers. Maybe on the side of Xianyo here on this Jarvan 4, it's going to be extremely, extremely important what they do in the first few minutes. Especially that, Phoenix usually plays these very aggressive, maybe single-targeted jungler, focused jungler. So now he's on an Olaf, so I think it's very refreshing.
It is. It's not something we see in his wheelhouse. So far, he's been playing a lot of Lee Sin. Oh, he has played a lot of Lee Sin via Camille in his own regional qualifier. When I was looking at him play, I was like, this guy is cracked on Lee Sin. There's a highlight clip I think Ban posted about how he did this triple jump into an insect and kicked the AD carry into the enemy team. I was like, whoa, that is insane, right? But now, even though Lee Sin is open, he opts for the Olaf instead. This is a deviation from the norm, which is something we're seeing teams do a lot more in the Summer Super Cup. The sort of strategies that they came into the tournament with are being discarded, or at least they're putting it on a shelf for a while and then trying new things out, trying to feel out their opponents. It's been the case for most of the games today. Even when we were looking at Team Secret, they were playing, kind of unorthodoxy compositions. They weren't playing this unkillable composition that we generally saw, right? So they're experimenting. They have the bandwidth to do so, and those that are able to experiment successfully will probably find more wins as the tournament goes on.
Yeah, that's true. I think that is the huge differences between the usual BO3 that most of the group stages and playoffs the teams have encountered in their respective regions. Now it's BO1, so there's a little bit of room of that unpredictability. You do have that leeway to catch all these teams off guard. But so far, looking at the draft for One and Onic seems to be standard. I guess what you mentioned, a little bit of the difference is Phoenix not on the usual trinity of the Camille, Vi, and Lee Sin. A little bit on that Olaf now. But I want to ask how that correlates together with the entirety of the draft. What is their end game? What is their plan?
I mean, the good news is with the Olaf, I believe it was paired with the Galio, so there's like a dive system, buddy system set up for the dive here, and it's also reflected in the fact that they picked up the Ezreal. Yes, it's one of those picks that Susugaja is so comfortable on because he's really only played Ezreal Kai'Sa, right? But it also gives them the bandwidth. Like, you don't need that peel when your support goes in because you are playing Ezreal. You want to be hitting them from like a screen away, throwing out mystic shots, layering the damage on with the true shot barrage, and because you have a free escape, like a get out of jail free card with the arcane shift, you can really play a bit more independent.
Yeah, that's true. It looks like the survivability of, Susugaja here on this Ezreal is increasing. I mean, there's the Olaf just to sort of be that CC shield for yourself when he pops in that Ragnarok. And the fact that, they do have young Hunt Jaegers as well on this Orianna. So that's added shield and added setups potentially for that ball play. But now for one team, curious to see what their end game is as well, considering the fact that they've locked in this, the demolition duo, the Tristana and the Ziggs.
Extremely potent when left alone. One of the big things this demolition duo can do is pretty much just put the Tristana bomb, hit it 5 times, it blows up. Once the turret is down to 20%, that's the bench, that's the breaking point for the satchel charge to demolish it, and you just rotate around the map taking turrets this way. The addition of the Janna here, we kind of talked about this as well, it's to prevent enemies from hard engaging on top of you. So the Janna plays slightly behind the demolition duo. If they jump in on you, use the Howling Gale, use the Monsoon, reset the fight, and then try to back out. I think because of the elusive nature of Tristana has the rocket jump, Ziggs also has the satchel charge, they're not like hard committed to taking the structure once they walk up. In conjunction with the Jarvan, it's also a tool for him to like, oh, you guys are running into me, Cataclysm, hold them in place, flag and drag out. So they have a lot of tools to escape.
Yeah, it's sounding like, a standard siege comp, if you will. They have a lot of tools to take down towers fast, but at the same time does have that disengage just in case things go awry. But I guess, having that Jarvan 4 actually enables a potential tower dive as well if they do select that sort of strategy on their hands, if they feel a little bit confident. But I think it's going to be a little bit tricky because you have to deal with a Galio, you have to deal with an Olaf, and a potential outplay of that Shockwave. So I think it's going to be huge. But now, it's starting to form with a little bit of contrast. Do you think that maybe one team is going to be more macro focused and Onic will be the opposite?
I think they should make use of the Galio. Like, whenever there's a Galio in the game, you have to respect the semi-global presence of this pick, and you need to rotate carefully because any fight will just be a +1 for the enemy. All said and done, the macro play has to be there as well because you're dealing with Tristana Ziggs, right? If you leave a lane unattended, they are going to walk up. They're going to take it. And you're like late to rotate. You just spend like, 20 seconds walking across the map, unable to defend a turret. That's time wasted. That's inefficient. You want to be able to defend before they even walk up.
We'll have to see if that is indeed the plan. And now we're back in the game over here. We're seeing Gov actually wanting to pay a little visit in the mid lane, but nothing will happen at the moment with this level 1.
Look at the mini-map right now. You can see that Phoenix is actually getting a leash from Han on his red buff. So he's going to be, a bit quicker in the jungle, whereas Ninja 7 and Siu did not give their jungler a leash. So when it comes down to it, we expect Phoenix to be fast clearing, making his way down bot. But Han is going to be taking some pressure here because he missed, I think, one creep of EXP.
So far, so good. He still was able to win the HP war. I suppose Kid forced to get the honey fruit a little bit earlier than usual. So now Han is able to take back his lane despite having to get that leash on the board for his jungler.
He has to respect the Garen too, because Kid brought Ignite to this Baron lane, whereas Han, he has the barrier, he gets the idea, right? He's going to be playing a bit more defensive. Phoenix now doing a full clear on his half of the jungle. So this is what I was talking about, Riku, right? Now Onyx bot lane is the weak side. They have to be careful.
We'll have to see if there's going to be a potential gank, just as you mentioned. Shanyo, though, waiting for the spawn of the Scuttler. So it is going to be one apiece for now between these two junglers. It is going to be a bit tricky, though, for, just as you mentioned, for Onic bot side. So far, so good. No ganks whatsoever. Hunt Jaegers does have that barrier and flash.
Ezreal Galio is now the weak side. They have to be careful that they don't get dove, especially because you can see that Xianyo is already making moves into the blue side jungle. So again, they have to be careful about how they're positioning around this. If there's a big wave crashing, they need backup. They need someone to come and cover them. Right now, this blue buff is going to be taken away, and this is going to give, again, this pressure to the Tristana Janna, who, for all intents and purposes, are okay just taking plating. They don't have to go for the kills.
That's true. They don't have to be in a hurry too much. They will be satisfied with this game state for now. Looking at the vision, though, Onic has the top side covered. One team responds the same as well. So at the moment, I think level 5 is something to look into. Maybe the 4-minute mark when, you know, the usual where they want to fight these dragons.
What happened here in the mid lane is both mid laners didn't recall at all. They just set and ate all the EXP, got level 5, and now they will be looking for a base coming back in. So around 2 minutes, 2.5 is usually when you get level 5. That's when, you know, these solo laners tend to try and activate something. Look at the bottom of your screen. Kind of iffy itemization. Again, looks like double black cleaver. And we were talking about this in the previous game from Geek Fam. The passive does not stack. So there is no efficiency on buying double black cleaver.
We'll have to see, though, as that is the go-to. We've seen that twice already, though. Okay, there is the taunt and another gank. Ninja 7, though, uses a flash, and he's still fine. But Sio doesn't have any mana, though.
Now they have the base, and there's going to be a lot of chip damage on that Dragon Lane Tier 1. Seems like just a visit from Phoenix. You know, after he did his clear, he came back down. He swapped over, knowing that I have to give some attention to this Ezreal Galio lane, otherwise they're going to be punished. And with that, you know, they're actually holding on very well. Onic Esports, their Dragon Lane is actually a hit and goal for the Ezreal Galio.
Yeah, despite, you know, one team did get priority over the lane. You know, Shanyo was over there at the bottom portion of the map. Still able to take things back for themselves. And we talked about, you know, the 4-minute mark, rather. That's so far into the future. 10 seconds for the dragon to spawn. And looks like, I believe it was Onic who did get that scuttler for themselves for now.
This dragon actually belongs to one team just because of how the map was split, right? Olaf did his red buff clear into enemy blue buff, so technically his strong half of the map is the top side. For him to journey down, he doesn't know if there's any vision here, he doesn't know if the enemy has set up anything, so it's kind of greedy for them to actually try and contest this Mountain Dragon. And again, Mountain Dragon isn't exactly the best buff you can take. It gives you a shield based on, you know, your max percentage HP, but I prefer the combat stats a lot more from the Inferno.
Definitely. That's more likely the reason why, you know, Onic wanting to sort of guard that area away from one. You mentioned that, you know, they do have that upper hand so far. Lanes from mid in bot do have priority. We'll have to see if Phoenix is lingering around here. So that means Onic may try something over here. One team already starting the Dragon. There's the Cataclysm trapping Phoenix. The flash being used for now. Susagaja really does have a great position as Siu. Very low. True Jump Barrage and the Locket activated. And now that's a reset on the Dragon. Here comes the hero's entrance and the Demacian Justice on Tohani. Super low and the focus target is on him. Now he's going to be suffering first blood for now. Taunt will activate. That's going to be an exchange kill. Ninja 7 is gone. There's not going to be any 80 carry anymore. And it's 1-for-1 apiece.
That could have gone a lot better for one team, and I'm not sure why Ninja 7 felt as though he had to jump in. It's one of those moments where you have greed in your eyes and you decide to commit into the cleanup as Tristana, right? Get the reset, clean another kill up. For the most part, though, it goes exactly like we predict. One team esports, because bot side is strong for them, they get control of it, they get the kills, they started off, but they end it rather poorly. They still managed to pick up mid-tier 1, which is the big win. Now they open up the enemy jungler, now they get access to red buff, raptors, blue buff, and wolves.
Definitely a huge win, just as you mentioned, but this could be take 2 for Onic to try and take this dragon for themselves. But based on the positioning of one team, they're going to get a second tower for them. Again, this is the demolition duo we're talking about.
The logic here to explain this is because, like I said, Mountain Dragon isn't the most important, it's not the most impactful. Instead of fighting again, what you do is you just rotate the demolition duo up to the top side, or the Baron side rather, chip the turret down, and then switch over to the Rift Herald, which again benefits your composition. Your composition wants to siege, Rift Herald is perfect for that.
Exactly, they don't have to fight. This is fine for them, and for one team, this is just going all in their favor so far. And Onic, they are forced for the past, you know, six minutes. They've been forced to sort of play in one team esports' tune, and it has been sort of a struggle. We'll have to see what adjustments are made, because mid lane is open so early, and it definitely hurt them.
There's a way for Onic back in, though, despite being, you know, behind about 2,500 gold. It's to make use of the Galio Renekton, right? In your side lanes, the Renekton is going to go against the Garen pretty well. It's a decent matchup for him, despite the tank stats being built up for the Garen. But you add the addition of the Galio, the global presence, right? The taunt, the additional control. It makes that matchup feel a lot better. Once you can start punishing the Garen, things look a lot better.
Yeah, definitely, because, you know, Kid has been sort of safe in the entirety of this match so far. And, you know, Han isn't able to sort of what we saw in Carl earlier in the Amihan match.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see Han take off just yet.
Oh,
so
too
now
soon, Riku. Too soon.
I know. It must hurt. But I think, you know, one duo, bot lane rather, wanting to hope to get maybe a death brush, but no success there.
If one team commits to these fights, right, say it's Jarvan jumping in first, they're going to get punished because the Galio re-engage is infinitely stronger. It has to be Onic that pulls the trigger first in order for one team to punish them. So I think Onic actually playing the right game here. They don't have to pull, they don't have to force these fights. Just use the Galio Orianna as a response to the global plays.
That's the reason why, you know, one team a little bit hesitant on over their engages, despite having, again, Shanyo over here on this Jarvan with a very strong Cataclysm. But then again, yeah, you're right. It is their aim is definitely on over towards these, but a dive may actually be a set over here on the bottom side of the map. No one is near there. As now Gob activating the knockup in the flash coming in. Monsoon activated as well, but it's just too much damage. That's a support gone already for one team.
Don't think they needed the hero's entrance there. It just looked cool, right? There's no real impact on that, but with that kill, they will be able to pick up the Dragon Tier 1. It's a trade of turrets though, because you can see here Kid and Xianyo on the Baron Tier 1 as well. So it's a bonus kill. Yes, Onic picks it up. So in the grand scheme of things, it's slightly better for Onic.
Definitely, they're able to equalize the map a little bit more. Especially now they're one tower behind, I suppose, on tower kills. At the moment, though, it is going to be one of those things where will one team try to contest this dragon for the second dragon again, knowing it's going to be an ocean, and as well as for Onic, what do they decide to do this time around? I mean, you mentioned they're doing a pretty good job now when it comes to equalizing the map.
Yep, like you said, Ocean is going to be the next big objective. 30 seconds on the clock. Onyx composition actually excels in team fighting if they're the ones to get the decent setup. So we're looking at Galio, we're looking at Olaf to really just run in and start things off. You can see that they have the Righteous Glory enchant. That is the right pickup if you want to be starting these fights. However, they need to only prioritize the Ziggs and the Tristana. Even the Tristana then is not ideal because she jumps away, she has Buster Shot. If you can jump up the Ziggs, if you can lock him down and kill him off, that is 60% of the team fight damage done. It's out. One Team Esports can't fight if Ziggs dies.
We'll have to see if they can bait out the satchel beforehand. Maybe bait out the flash beforehand, actually, before the dragon is started. But now Phoenix starting off this Ocean Drake while one team releases the Rift Herald on the board. One team, look at Kid, already starting the shockwave, doesn't hit anyone, unfortunately. Cataclysm activated, just a trap in Phoenix. But look at that! Baya steals the dragon away from Onic. Monsoon activated for now, but Gob will be the next one to fall. That's a double kill already from Ninja 7. He's gonna all-out team fight, triple kill for him. Look at the resets, and he's on a killing spree. And one team are happy with that quadra kill.
They get the ace, they get the quadra. Again, such magnificent play from One Team Esports. And like I said, if Baya doesn't die, that fight looks so good. He was able to start it off with the Mega Inferno Bomb, and they just collapsed with the rest of the team there. Now, with this Demolition duo, look at this, Riku. This is what we were talking about in the draft, right? Leave any lane open, those structures might as well be made out of cardboard.
Yeah, crazy tower takedowns with the Rift Herald, as well as a big bonus. And the fact that that was an ace, that means one team can just maximize this Demolition duo power. And that is the problem, I suppose. You know, Onic, when they die, they not only die and give gold to one team, they lose towers fast.
Yep, those go down so quickly, and Onic has to respect that. Right now, you can see that Baron is being focused by both teams. Inside this pit, inside this narrow corridor, this choke, Hunt Jaegers might be able to do something with the Shockwave, but so far he's 0 for 2, right, Riku? It's not looking good. This guy has been missing clutch ultimates that he has to connect with, and as long as he can hit 1 or 2 of those in this area where people are taking the debuff from Baron, it might be good for Onic in that sense.
That's true. I think that is a potential outplay or a path they could do to fight from behind. And now that's the Cataclysm again. Phoenix does have Flash, so he's going to use that for safety. But that means an Olaf-less, a flashless Olaf rather, for the potential Baron.
Yep, this is the counter we were talking about. You know, you put him in the Cataclysm, he has to expend the Flash, otherwise he dies, and that's going to happen time and time again. The difference between cooldowns between Cataclysm and Flash is just so huge that Cienyo always has the window to punish this Olaf pick. And remember in the draft, again, they responded to the Olaf with Jarvan IV. It's starting to pay off for One Team Esports.
That's looking really, really good, just as you mentioned. And at least the good news for Onic, you know, One Team still not going to be starting this Baron just yet. They want to wait a little bit more, I suppose. Maybe hunt for Phoenix's head. For now, though, it is Gov might get caught out here, as that's the flag and drag, but a little bit hard to lock down.
They're just putting vision inside the jungle, knowing that if anyone walks into a choke, Cataclysm will be up in time to punish, or flag and drag. You know, in these narrow corridors, those bouncing bombs from Ziggs and the Hextech minefield feels very oppressive. You can't really walk up, you can't really clear vision, which is why they want to put in all these deep wards. As you can see on your mini-map, one by Red Buff, one next to the Raptors.
That's definitely a lot of control now for One Team. Definitely, they can use that to sort of hunt for Phoenix's head once more, potentially opening up a Baron if they are successful in getting a pick for themselves. His Flash is still not going to be up for any time soon, so this could be a potential window as Cataclysm is already up and running.
5K goal lead for the first seed Taiwan region representatives. Honestly, coming out of guns blazing like this, we all had our money, or at least, you know, we're leaning towards Onic Esports, but they are showing off right now. And this is a team that is poised to, you know, kind of take the first win as the engage comes in.
Oh, that's the Cataclysm, and now that is Hun Jaegers without a Flash now. So, One Team, it's just Xianyo basically happy to hunt for these flashes time and time again. And the timing couldn't be any more perfect. It's 20 seconds for the next dragon to spawn. And it's an Infernal 2 for, you know, additional damage for the squad.
This is the dragon you want. This is the dragon that you need to take because it gives you that increase in damage. And without the Flash, Hans Jaeger is that much more susceptible to getting jumped again. We talked about this idea of trading Cataclysm for Flash so far. Xianyo has done it twice. He's looking to capitalize a third time maybe.
I apologize about that because Bob activated his righteous glory and I thought it was go time. But, you know, you mentioned Baya is their main target and we can see that Onic really wants to get his head before starting this dragon. And now, though, that is not Ragnarok Hop just yet. They're keeping it for the upcoming fight. We'll have to see if patience will pay as that's a flash taunt into 3 people worth of follow-up though as the dominance activated already. He's in the middle of it all. And now that is the hero's entrance with a triple man knockoff. But at the moment it's Baya still alive and well in the resets from Ninja 7. That's gonna be a double kill for Kid and that's an ace for One Team Esports.
The Oppo team ace, the second one this game, coming in for One Team Esports. And again, like we said, Riku, Baya is the primary target. He needs to die, otherwise he's just going to be throwing out these bombs and fights. And with the Zhonya's enchant as well, it makes it so difficult to come off. One Team Esports looking for their first win for today.
Demolition Duo just running straight to the Nexus. Just as you mentioned, the first win of the day for One Team. They're feeling really good about that one.
I love how they're like trying to high five or air high five each other because, you know, everyone's trying to, you know, make sure the COVID social distancing measures are in place. So, you know, full credit to these guys. They're still keeping that at the back of their mind. Solid stuff coming in for One Team Esports. You know, you look at this, you might be a bit concerned if you're someone else inside Group C because they show very good fundamentals here in terms of draft and understanding how to answer your opponent's threats.
Yeah, from the draft up until the way that they played, they basically targeted, you know, Phoenix time and time again. And if there's a little bit of room for extra, then Hun Jaegers for, again, you know, a little bit less safe or susceptible, just as you mentioned, for the Orianna, as there's not a lot of mobility options for you after that flash is burned. And it has been an uphill climb for the gold lead on the side of One Team. And yeah, I guess it started from the very first few minutes of the game.
This makes me wonder why Onic Esports did not opt for the Lee Sin instead, because in this matchup against the Jarvan, Lee Sin is actually mobile enough to just, you know, his safeguard doesn't need a ward, doesn't need a target, you can just dash out. And it sets up for this, you know, crazy insect picks that Phoenix is so known for sometimes when he can set that up for his team. If you kick Baya in on the